welcome to Heavenly Delights, the show that demonstrates practical food in a simple way for the modern lifestyle, healthy options that you can choose. Research shows that eating fresh fruit and vegetables, whole grains and nuts is associated with lower risks of disease and healthy outcomes. We're excited about the recipes that we're going to be bringing to you in this show. We hope you'll try them at home so you can experience how exciting and tasty simple foods can be. In the kitchen today, we have with us Joyce Hofer, food demonstrator, and Angelette Müller, nutrition consultant, and I am Sharon Platt-McDonald, your host. Now, Joyce, can you tell us a little bit about what we're cooking today? We're focusing on nuts, and just share with us what this first recipe entails.
Well, actually, today I'm making my favorite roast, and it's called sunflower walnut roast.
Okay. And what are the ingredients? What sort of ingredients will you be using?
Sunflower seeds, breadcrumbs, walnuts, and peppers.
All right, Angelette, we've heard about the nuts, so you're going to get started, Joyce. We're not sure how long it will take, but I'm sure it's around about 10 minutes, I think you said this recipe would last. So while you're preparing your ingredients, I'll just ask Angelette about the nuts. Now, of course, nuts is a rich protein. Can you just tell us the benefits of some of the nuts we're going to be using today?
Well, the great thing about nuts is that they're an energy-dense food. They're high in fat, which means they help to keep you full. And they're also got protein in them, so it's important as an alternative source of protein. For example, you can use a nut loaf rather than a meat loaf. It's an alternative source of plant-based protein. They say that if you chew your nuts for longer, it helps you to keep you full for longer.
Right.
So it's a good idea to be able to chew your nuts well as well. But they're high in fibre and rich in all the natural nutrients that help to protect fat in the diet.
That's so interesting because when you have a tasty meal, you want to eat it quickly and get it over and done with. But you're saying that taking time to enjoy the food is beneficial to your health.
Definitely.
That's amazing, that's amazing. So what do we have here? We've had almonds. Do we have any walnuts in this one?
Yes, I have sunflower seeds, breadcrumbs, and I also have brown walnuts in there.
Right.
And now I'm just grating some potatoes to add into that.
Okay. Now, Joyce mentioned walnuts. What are the specific health benefits of walnuts? In fact, is there any research that demonstrates its nutritive value?
Yeah, walnuts are a good source of omega-3 fatty acids. And these fatty acids are quite difficult to get in the diet because most foods are quite low in omega-3,
Right.
apart from fish, flaxseed, oil and flax seeds, and English walnuts. So it's a very good source of walnuts, especially for vegans and vegetarians because they don't always eat fish.
Right.
So having walnuts as a source is a good idea.
Right. And of course, she's using that for this recipe, but if someone wanted to just have walnuts on their own, would you say a handful of walnuts would be useful?
Yeah, a handful of nuts is sufficient per day because
Right.
nuts are very high in fat, 50%, 60% fat.
Right.
And the body likes to eat, it likes fat, but it doesn't want too much fat
Right.
because it needs to process the fat.
Right. So we can get away with a little bit more in a meal like this. And Joyce, this walnut, how many people would that feed, would you say?
I think this loaf should feed at least 6 people.
6 people.
Yes.
So that would be sufficient. That's about 2 or 3 handfuls, I'd say there.
Yeah,
Right, that's
yeah,
fine.
definitely.
And then we have some other ingredients here, Angelette. We've got, you've got the sunflower seeds. Anything to say about the nutritive value of sunflower seeds? I mean, they don't look significant to a lot to the eye, but of course, there's always something hidden there that's going to be beneficial to health. So, what can you tell us about sunflower seeds and their nutritive value?
Well, the good thing about sunflower seeds versus sunflower oil is that they're packed with nutrients that help to protect the fat. They have vitamin E. When the fat's in the body, it helps to protect the fat. They also have something called plant sterols, which are the plant equivalent of cholesterol. And this plant sterol helps to lower cholesterol, which helps people who have higher levels of cholesterol to eat this type of fat moderately.
Right.
It helps to lower cholesterol.
Right, right. And what would you say? Obviously, Joyce is cooking this in a particular way. Any tips that you would share with the viewers about how to cook these types of foods? Of course, there's some foods where you'd cook them, some dishes at a high level in terms of heat, and others in terms of retaining nutritive value. You might say, let's keep the heat at the moderate level, or should we lower the heat. So some practical tips about how to cook food, various dishes.
Well, I would say one of the great things about this dish is that it's quick and easy. And sometimes people like to have roasts on Sunday or whatever day of the week, maybe for lunch as well. It's important that you cook it at a moderate level where possible. But the good thing about bacon is that it's only the surface that gets browned.
Right.
Bacon does use very high temperatures, but the surface gets browned, and inside the food is almost steamed inside because of the water content.
Good. So that means it's obviously thoroughly cooked through. Now, Joyce, you're adding a few other ingredients here while we were talking. Can you just tell us, what you've added since the walnuts and the sesame, or the sunflower seeds rather? What have you been adding whilst we were talking?
Right now I'm cutting the onions real fine to put into it, and some salt, and some herbs in there, and I'm using in this one majoran.
Right. So previously, can you just go through again, just to remind our viewers what is in your bowl here?
In my bowl here is sunflower seeds, breadcrumbs, ground nuts, raw potatoes, grated, and in this recipe actually I did put my food yeast because I would let Angelette explain the reason why I put food yeast in there. Of course, if you don't have it available, you don't have to put it in. But it's...
does it give a bit of flavour? Does that give flavour?
It does.
Right,
it certainly does. There are different types of food yeast, but it's not always available everywhere, and the taste is not the same.
Oh, right.
But I would say that it does add quite a lot of taste to the loaf.
Yeah, and to add to that, I guess it's often fortified with B vitamins.
That's right.
So if you are choosing a yeast product and you might be a vegan or a vegetarian, look for a yeast product that is fortified with B12 because that's not naturally occurring in the vegan diet. It is in the vegetarian diet, but not in the vegan diet.
So obviously that's added nutritive benefit.
Yeah.
Now, Joyce, I was interested to hear you add potato. If you're thinking about a nut roast or a nut loaf, potato would be one of the food of choice that I would put in. So I'm intrigued. What does the potato do for the dish?
Actually, potato binds it.
Oh, right. Okay, that's new. I didn't know that. So that gives it a little bit of cohesiveness, brings it all together.
That's right.
And then you had put some milk in earlier on.
That's right.
Can you just tell us a little bit about what that is? What type of milk?
Natural soy milk. That means plain soy milk, not flavored.
Right.
And sometimes, it depends. Sometimes you need more or less. Well, in this case, I put one in there. I'm going to put another one because it's not just the consistency that I'm looking for.
Right.
So you don't have to always go by what the recipe says.
Yes.
You have to use your own judgment.
Right.
This is what roasts and things are all about. It's not like baking a cake,
Right.
If you put something less or something more, it's not going to work out.
Yes,
but in this case, you have to kind of use your own judgment.
Right. So obviously we've had to add another cup there. Now this specific recipe is in your cookbook, isn't it?
That's right.
You've put together a cookbook, and I know, Angelette, you've been trying some of the dishes already, some of the recipes from Joyce's cookbook.
Yeah.
Give us a little insight into which ones you've tried, and was this one on the list? We want to know how it tastes before we taste it today, Joyce.
Actually, this one wasn't on the list, but I did think it looked like quite a tasty option, because often people find it hard to bind recipes without using egg. And here Joyce is showing us that you can use potato. Obviously, she's used the soya milk to help to give it sort of moisture and bind together. So we can see that there are other ways of binding these roasts without using egg, because sometimes people don't want to use egg depending on the kind of dietary diet that they follow, or depending on whether they have a high cholesterol diet, and the dietitian has said that they need to cut down on eggs in their diet.
Yes, right, so that's good. So that's something new. So potato for binding, we don't necessarily need eggs. And now, lovely, herbs are one of my favourite additions to any savoury dish. And here we've got marjoram, and what else do you use? Would you just choose your specific herb based on the dish?
Well, actually, I myself, I've used this particular herb because it somehow gives it a very special flavor to this particular mixture. But it doesn't have to be.
Yes.
I mean, you can use whatever you have in the home. You don't have to go extra buying a herb. Because I've written it over here.
Yeah.
And the thing is, what I always say is that when women are following the recipes in my cookbook, they are very, what shall I say, they don't have to really cook it the way I say it. I mean, they can try it 1 or 2 or 3 times exactly the way I have written in the cookbook, but after some experience that they have had with some of these recipes, they can put in what they want and they can leave out what they want.
Yeah.
But I certainly recommend a whole lot of herbs.
Yes, to lift the taste. Angelette, anything you'd like to add about nutritive values of herbs? We don't hear that much about them, but again, there are some that have specific benefits, aren't there?
Well, herbs are brilliant for flavouring. And that means you can modify the amount of salt that you add, but also they have special plant nutrients that act in different ways in the body. For example, rosemary is associated with promoting liver detoxification, or oregano helps with like killing off certain like fungal overgrowth in the gut. So they have different actions, but really fresh herbs are the best where possible. Dried herbs can be used as well, depending on what's in the area. And I'm sure Joyce would agree.
Yes.
You can experiment with herbs.
Yes.
Actually, what I think is that the dried herbs has more flavor because it's very concentrated, and you can mix it with the fresh herbs. That you can do.
So you've got a combination of fresh and dried, which works well.
You can, yes.
Right. So now, Joyce, we've just seen that you've greased the baking tray. Do you just use any oil, or what have you chosen specifically to grease the pan?
Well, actually, it doesn't really matter what kind of oil you use. I normally use olive oil or sunflower oil.
Is it lighter? Does it make any specific difference?
I don't think so.
Okay, so they can choose any of those that would work well.
That's right.
Fabulous. So that looks almost ready. So what would go nicely with this, Joyce? Sunday, we've decided to put a roast together. The family's eagerly looking forward to the roast. What other foods would complement this dish?
Well, roast with roast potatoes.
Okay.
And steamed vegetables.
All right, lovely. Lovely. So that seems like a real balance. You've got the carbohydrates and the protein, and then the vegetables that we spoke about earlier with the health benefits there. Excellent.
I'm just going to put a little bit of oil over the top so that when it's put in the oven, it's nice and brown and looks nice.
Yeah, it gives a nice finish, doesn't it?
That's right, exactly, yeah.
Fabulous. And remind us again the baking time. Obviously, the viewers at home would be thinking, how long will this take?
Well, it takes about 45 to 60 minutes.
Right.
Depends on your oven.
Right.
You know.
Obviously, if it's a fan-assisted oven or one of those modern ones, it takes less time, I believe.
That's right. It does take less time. Yeah.
Right. And so the oven.
It's ready to go into the oven. Yeah.
So there we are, viewers. Our walnut and sunflower loaf. We shall be sampling it shortly and be back to tell you the taste. We continue our focus on nuts with our second recipe, mushroom nut patés. Now, just to remind you that all the recipes we're demonstrating will be from Joyce's cookbook, Heavenly Delights. And so for our ingredients for this key recipe, there are 4 main ingredients: mushrooms, tofu, chickpea, and we're going to be using some walnuts again, and not forgetting the cashew nuts. So of course, Joyce, if you can just talk us through the ingredients you have here and how many ounces or the percentage of ingredients you're going to be using. We don't want to have too much of one and not enough of the other. So tell us a little bit more about what you're using.
I'm using a half a cup of cashew nuts.
Right, so here we are.
Here we are.
Okay, you've ground those. So these are the cashews. Fabulous.
And then I have 1 to 2 cups of water.
Right, good. Do you need to stir that in, or you just...
I'll just put all the ingredients together, and then I will stir it.
Good, good.
And then I'll put some of the tofu.
All right.
That's about a half a pound.
Okay. So that was the tofu here.
That's
so you
right.
have this here. So it's usually in this block, and then you
Cut it into half.
and did you crumble it? Did
Yes,
just
you can crumble it with your hands or with a fork.
Okay, fine. We'll put that there.
And cracker crumbs.
Okay.
And so I usually take a plastic bag.
Mm-hmm.
I stick it inside the plastic bag and crush it with my hands.
Okay. Very technical.
Yeah, that makes the least mess.
Yes, yes. Now the crackers you're using, is that ordinary crackers, salted crackers? What?
They are salted crackers.
Salted, so that gives a bit of flavour. That's fine.
right, yeah.
And so, does that add to the texture? That would give it a bit of texture, do you think?
Sort of a binder.
Good, okay.
And it also gives it a nice texture.
Good,
yes.
good. Fine, so what else do we have? So we've had the tofu, we've had the crackers, the water.
That's right. And then we have walnuts in there.
Okay, so we're using the walnuts again.
Here
So
they are.
Already
Those are
crushed.
That's right. Already crushed.
Okay.
Put that in there. And then the next ingredient will be mushrooms.
Right, now I noticed, Joyce, you've got a specific mushroom, because obviously there's several types of mushrooms.
That's right.
But you've chosen this one. Could you tell us a little bit about this type of mushroom and why you've chosen it for this dish?
Actually, I think this is a very flavorful.
Okay.
Shiitake.
Shiitake mushroom.
Yes, something's
Okay,
very
good,
special.
Good.
And it actually, I like the flavor of it. That's why I use this for these patties.
Right.
And those meat lovers
Okay.
may enjoy it.
Good. So again, it rivals the taste. Okay,
That's right.
fabulous. Now you've added the onions.
That's right. And I'm going to add some chickpea paste in
Right.
there.
So these are the chickpea you
That's
had
right.
frozen. You can freeze them. Of course, you defrosted them and then did you blend them? You used the blender, did you, to
Yes,
puree
I can
it?
blend them.
Okay.
Actually, you can also grind them
Okay.
dry.
Okay.
It's powdered just.
Yeah, yeah.
But I usually have it frozen and in the refrigerator, so when I need it, I
Yeah,
just put a little bit of water and make paste
Oh,
out of
good.
it. Okay, we've got to add some salt in there as
Okay,
well.
a bit of salt.
So I think everybody has to go according to their taste,
Okay.
as much salt as they want to put in.
Okay.
I'm going to put just over, say, 1.5
Teaspoon.
teaspoons. Yes,
Right.
that's right. And I'm going to put some Italian herbs in it.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I just going to use my
Judgment
again, and I'm going to put, perhaps in this one here, say 2 teaspoons.
Right, I noticed you've used a mixture of herbs this time, the Italian. Last time you used just one, but
that's right.
Tell us why you've decided on a combination. Of course, the Italian herbs has a group of herbs together. What does that do? for
Well, in the
flavour?
other one, actually, I used brown gravy.
Yes, yeah.
So that gives it, and this one here, it needs a little bit more, so
Okay.
That's right.
So while you're doing that, I'll ask Angelette about the nutritive values. Of course, it's nut theme again. We talked about walnuts last time. This time we have an additional nut, the cashew. Can you just tell us what nutritive value cashew has and how we can benefit from their use?
Well, cashew nuts are very creamy, and they also have one of the highest levels of starch in the nut family, in the tree
Right.
nut family. So that means they make excellent binders. So you can add them creamed to soups, or you can make
Okay.
cashew cream, cashew blended with fruits, or you can make cashew milk. All of those things make a great sort of cooking medium.
Great.
In addition, the mushrooms, which aren't nuts, but they're a very good source of protein for vegetarians. The
yeah.
texture of a mushroom will really add to any kind of nut pate or burger that you make, because it gives it a lovely meaty kind of texture,
right.
and people like that.
Yeah, and obviously Joyce chose this mushroom because of the strong flavour. It gives an additional flavour. Now I noticed you added an ingredient there while we were talking.
That's
Tell us a
right.
little bit about the brown sauce here. It's powdered form.
Actually, I did say something perhaps out of place, and that is that I said for the other one I did not use the brown gravy. Actually, in this one I am using the brown gravy.
Yes.
In the other one I did not use the brown
that's
gravy.
fine.
Okay,
That's
and the
fine.
thing is this: I don't like to use the same herb each time for each recipe,
Yes.
and so I change.
Okay. So
Okay, in the other one, mayoran always tastes good in a roast.
Yes.
That's according to my experience. And in this case, I just decided to put the Italian herbs in there to give it several flavors of different kinds of herbs.
And it does lift the flavour, doesn't it?
That's right. And as Angelette mentioned, that we should use more fresh herbs. And that is true. And I really like to use fresh herbs. And I do have it outside my kitchen. All different kinds of fresh herbs. And anybody who don't have a garden can have a what do you say that?
Window box.
A window box or a pot of fresh herbs that you can always go out, pick it and chop it in pieces and put it there.
Oh, fabulous. So now this mixture looks ready. So you grease the container again to put them in, or you're going to fry
I'm going to fry it this time. So I'm going to form it into patties. And then I'm going to fry it.
Okay. Right, while you're doing that, while you're getting the patties ready for frying, I'll just ask Angelette now, obviously we talked about the mode of cooking. Last time it was baking, this time it's frying. Tell us a little bit about how frying may change the food texture or nutritive value, and how best to fry to ensure it's not too fatty or greasy in terms of research, health research about not having too many oily foods. How would you suggest we go about it?
Okay, within Joyce's recipe, she says use a little bit of oil.
Right.
And generally what we recommend is that you fry at a relatively low heat.
Right.
Because one of the aims of frying is to improve the flavour.
Yes.
And also it kind of browns either side of the burger, so it kind of gives it a nice crispy outer coating. Browning is good for flavour, but not necessarily that good for health.
Right.
So we only want to brown it a little bit.
Okay.
And we want to do it at a low heat because oil can damage quite easily at high heats. So a lower heat will help to maintain the structure of the oil so that it still can function well in the body.
Right.
Yeah.
Good. Now, is there anything that we can look at to see how they're getting on, because you're going to show us the frying? Are you going to be able to demonstrate that for us?
Oh, yes.
Good. All right, Joyce, we can see the patties here. You're shaping them now. That looks a good consistency. And while you're getting those shaped for the frying pan, Angelette, one of the ingredients that was included was tofu. Of course, tofu is a protein source. Tell us a little bit about why we're using tofu in this recipe and what nutritive value that has for us.
Well, tofu is a binder. It also adds texture to any recipe. But one of the reasons that Joyce has recommended tofu is because she's aware of the benefits for women's health.
Yeah.
And one of the benefits is that tofu is made from soya beans and it contains plant nutrients, one of which is called a phytoestrogen.
Yes.
And what that means is it's got a very weak kind of effect, a little bit like estrogen in the body. And research shows that it actually promotes bone health, which is brilliant, because as we age, especially women, estrogen levels go down, and the soy helps to provide some kind of estrogen effect to improve bone health.
So in fact, these are one of the good female foods, as we would say. Now we can hear that sizzling away, Joyce, and it smells delightful already. So let's see how those are getting on in the pan. Great. There you go. And so in terms of cooking time, Joyce, how many minutes did we suggest for these to be fried in terms of the low heat you were talking about?
Well, to prepare the mixture takes about 10 minutes.
Right, yes.
You know, by the time you've got all the ingredients together and everything, mixing it and everything together, it takes about 10 minutes. And of course, the frying time, it takes another 10 minutes. So in 15 minutes you have, or 10 minutes, 20 minutes, you have another menu prepared.
And that's 20 minutes to fry the whole lot, but obviously each burger would be about a few minutes frying.
That's right. But since it's just nuts and vegetables and tofu, it doesn't take so long.
Great. Well, lovely. So we're almost set now, and we'll be tasting that again soon. We've got a lot of things to taste today, and we're glad, aren't we? Great. And here we have the finished products: sunflower and walnut loaf and mushroom and nut pate. Let's taste it, girls. Okay, now's the moment. Let's try the sunflower and walnut loaf first. There we go. It's a little bit there. Fabulous.
No, take a little. It looks very good.
Wow.
Mushroom is my favourite food. At least one of them. and I can taste a little tofu.
This is a very tasty burger.
This one is very nice. So there you have it, 2 simple meals that you can prepare, recipes to delight the taste buds that you can try at home. Thank you. Okay, in our final nut recipe today, we're going to be demonstrating nut tomato pate. Now, Joyce, that sounds intriguing. Can you tell us the key ingredients in this dish?
Very, very simple this time. Just nuts, tomatoes, tinned tomatoes. You can also put fresh tomatoes if you want. And onions and garlic and herbs.
Oh, good. So let's get moving with that. And then I just want to highlight a little bit about this nut. Of course, we've seen walnuts and cashew nuts in the previous recipes. But Angelette, we now have almonds. Now, almonds are one of my favourite nuts. Tell us a little bit about the nutritive value, what it does for the body.
Well, almonds are a wonderful nut because if you can see, they're brown, so they've got fibre on the outside. And research shows that this fibre, when it breaks down lower down in the digestive system, that there's special bacteria that like to use it to make energy. And that's actually quite healthy for the colon. In addition to that, it's high in calcium. So you can use almond milk as an alternative to cow's milk. And also it's high in magnesium. And these days people are very stressed, tired, they need more energy. And magnesium is one of the minerals that are needed at almost every stage of energy production. So all round, almonds are a great nut choice.
So that's fabulous. So, of course, when people see almonds, they don't already, initially they don't think fibre, but of course the fibre is very important, of course, the protein and, as you said, the calcium. Now, are there any specific research that shows what it does for different gender groups, or even how it helps to prevent disease, let's say? What sort of research is there?
Yes, they have done a lot of research on almonds. It's been well researched. One of the pieces of research that came out recently in 2010 said that a handful of almonds a day, which is about 60 grams, people who ate a handful of almonds tended to have lower risk of heart disease, diabetes, lower levels of cholesterol and blood pressure. So it's really all round very beneficial for all kinds of diseases that people have in the modern 21st century. So
again, and it's also a good choice for snacks. If you snack, it's better to snack on something that has the fibre and the protein and so forth. So, of course, research is demonstrating a lot of important research outcomes if we have these foods in our diet. So now, Joyce, obviously you're adding that to the mixture, and I'm seeing already that looks fabulous. Just tell us a little bit about what you've added while we were catching up on the research.
Well, I just sautéed onions and garlic in olive oil, and then I added tomato sauce, and then as soon as it started to sizzle, I put some ground almonds in there.
Okay.
And some salt, of course, to flavour it, and some Italian herbs.
So back to the portion sizes again and measurements. So the almonds that we have here, you'd ground that. How many ounces? What did you put in? How much? If we were measuring,
well,
would you
I
use?
put 2 cups.
2 cupfuls.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine.
And 2 cups of tomatoes.
Right. Good.
So tinned tomatoes.
Right.
Yes.
Great. Now the herbs you use this time round, what do we have?
Okay, for the spaghetti, always Italian
herbs again, our favourite mixture there.
That's
for the herbs. Fabulous.
And I'm going to add, I think, in this one a little bit of water.
Water. Okay.
Yes.
Fine. Now, Angelette, as we spoke with Joyce, there's a few other ingredients there. She spoke about the garlic, the onions and tomatoes. Can you just tell us a little bit about those food items and what value they are in terms of nutrition for the body?
Yes, definitely. I know a lot of men are becoming more increasingly aware of their health, and we know there's lots of research coming out about prostate health. Well, men will be glad to know that tomatoes, onions and garlic are all associated with improved benefits to help protect the prostate glands.
We need them to be watching this cooking show as well, don't we?
Yeah, and then they can try the recipes themselves.
That's right. So prostate health, garlic, onions and tomatoes. Can you tell us what specifically is beneficial about those food items for male health?
Well, to be honest, in tomatoes we have a red pigment. We've got something called lycopene. Lycopene is a plant nutrient,
Right.
and it actually works as an antioxidant, and
Right.
that's how it is protective. Onions and garlic are brilliant
Yeah.
because they can, at every stage of the cancer process, they have substances that they contain that helps to inhibit
right,
sort of
good.
progression
Yes.
of cancer
Yes.
cells.
Good, so again, a very protective food item. Now, Joyce, you've added some more tomato. Is that
That's
the
right.
tomato ketchup this time?
That's right, exactly.
How many spoonfuls did you add?
2 tablespoons.
2 tablespoons,
yes. Just to
great.
give it a little bit of a flavour.
All right, so that gives a bit of a
A
kick
little bit
there.
of a kick there. That's right.
Right, now you've added some new ingredients to the table. We've got 3 wonderful peppers, red, yellow, and orange in colour.
That's right.
What exciting things are you going to do with these?
Well, actually, with this pate, you can make another dish.
Okay.
And that is, you can fill them in these peppers. I
Okay.
cut the tops off,
And then,
you know, and
fabulous.
now I'm going to fill it in here.
Okay. And then would you then bake those?
Now I shall put some tomatoes in a pan, like this one over here. Okay. I'm just going to put it down here for a
Okay,
moment.
let's rest these here.
And I've got 2 cans of tomatoes.
Okay.
Tins or cans. There are some who say tins and others say
Okay.
cans. All right, then I'll put that inside here.
Okay, so those will get cooked along with that.
These are going to be cooked or steamed.
Oh, fabulous.
Okay, so here we go. Can you hold
Okay,
this for
I'll
me,
hold on
Sharon,
to this
please?
here. So we
Thanks.
scoop those in.
I scoop these in here.
So as the peppers are cooking with the tomato around there, that absorbs the flavour, does it? What happens there?
Actually, it does. And you know, don't wait too long when you're steaming it. Leave it a little bit, how do you say that? Chewy, you know?
Okay.
A little, it shouldn't be too soft. I
Oh,
should
good.
say.
So it gives it a nice texture. It's a little bit crunchy then.
A little bit crunchy, that's right.
All
And
right.
now I shall cover them up
That's
with the
fabulous.
lids.
There you go. So that
There
looks
you go. It
intriguing.
just has to fit nicely.
Fabulous.
There you go. And then I'm going to put the lid on
Okay.
and I'm going to let it simmer
Okay.
for a little while.
Fabulous. So that's going to be cooking there. Fabulous. Now, what do we have next? What's the next step for this dish?
Actually, another nice way to serve it, as it was originally made. This recipe I made actually for spaghetti
Okay.
sauce, you know. So there you go. You can use it as a spaghetti sauce.
Okay.
Garnish it a little bit.
More sauce.
Okay.
Good.
And perhaps a little bit
A
more
little
sauce.
bit more there.
And I tell you something, the kids love it. There are children who have who are used to eating meat, and of course they say spaghetti bolognese.
Yes, yes.
But I call it spaghetti nuzzolese
Oh,
because
right.
it's got nuts in it.
Oh, good.
And I tell you something, a grandmother made once
Okay.
exactly this dish with nuts in it.
Okay.
And they didn't even notice that the meat was
Oh,
not there.
that
They
it was
didn't
that
even notice there
tasty.
were nuts in there.
Fabulous.
And they all thoroughly enjoyed it.
Oh, that's lovely. So, and that looks delightful. Now, tell us a little bit about the garnish that you've put there. What do we
Oh,
have?
that's
here?
a herb. That's salbei.
All right. Okay. So that gives a bit of flavour as well, does it?
That's
as well?
right.
Good.
It does give it a little bit of flavour, and it looks nice.
Good. And your noodles. What choice of noodles did you have for this dish?
Well, you can use any kind of noodles you want. I just used very fine noodles. Not the spaghettis are different. There are so many different kinds,
Right,
you know.
right.
But actually, you just can use what you have.
Okay, so this is fine, and that looks lovely. So, a perfect dish with a mixture of fibre from the almonds, and we've got the protective, immune-boosting foods, the garlic, the onions, and the tomatoes. And so, again, another healthy dish. And so, here completes our nut focus for today with our 3 menu dishes, and we shall sample them, and we'll be back next time. Good digestion is not only aided by eating in a timely manner, but enjoying the ambience and the environment of the meal table. Research shows that if you're relaxed as you eat, it not only enhances a sense of well-being, but it makes the digestion easier. Today we have a sunflower theme, And this complements the sunflower and walnut roast we prepared earlier. When you set your table, when you prepare your meal, think of the table setting, which will enhance the meal and you will enjoy it especially.